Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Here am I, Lord, not me."
I'm moving to Africa in about 70 days. Most people are surprised when I tell them that. They assume that I can't wait to leave all of my friends, family, and even home to move halfway across the world. But to me, personally, the true surprise is how God took my heart from no to go, from not me to send me. This is a picture of me and my brother. You can see we're pretty cool kids. I grew up in church. It was actually this church that I grew up in. And there was never a time in my life when I didn't know who God was or that He loved me. And it really affected me at a young age and made me want to follow Him. Growing up, my mom always told me that I was special. She truly believed that. However, the problem is I didn't want to be special. So going into middle school and then high school, I was just a very normal Christian kid. By the standards of the world, I was a good kid. I wasn't having sex, wasn't doing drugs, wasn't going to parties. I went to church twice a week, I was in a small group, and even went on some mission trips. The only issue was I was not in love with Jesus. And if I'm being honest with you, it was His words that really spoke to me. In Revelation, He says that I know your works. You are neither hot nor cold. I wish you are either one or the other. So because you have become lukewarm and are neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit or vomit you out of my mouth. This is such a crazy idea to me because I was living a mediocre Christian life and my culture told me that was okay. As long as my Bible looked kind of worn out, I went to church twice a week and stayed out of trouble, I was good. And then my mom had this great idea to take my sister and I to Africa for a month. Most people would be excited about the opportunity of traveling to Africa. However, I was not. What I realized though was that at 17 years old, being a high school student, I really didn't have the option of saying no. So there I was on a plane ride to the other side of the planet. I wish I could say that it was the extreme poverty that God used to change my heart, but honestly, I'd seen so much poverty in Mexico over the years that it just felt like another form of sorrow. It was about a week in country that a man came to come visit us. And what rocked me about him wasn't that he had memorized chapters of scripture or felt like he knew the Bible inside and out, but it was the fact that a former Marine, former businessman that sold everything he had when he met Jesus would get down on this cold tile floor each morning and weep about how much he loved the Lord. That made me look into my soul and say, I don't know Jesus like he does. Over the next 3 weeks of my life, I became obsessed with becoming a godly man, and I asked him probably thousands of questions, trying to learn everything I could before I returned home. Needless to say, the next July, I got on the flight with joy, excited to go back to Malawi. It was during my second trip that I began to use my skills as a filmmaker for God's kingdom. I made videos and took photos for You Turn Ministries in order to tell the story of the work that God was already doing in Malawi. Over the next 2 summers, I returned with the same intention. At that point in my life, I had a growing business. I was about to graduate from film school, and I was comfortable with going to Africa once a year for a month. Then at 21 years old, a friend of mine asked me one of the most important questions I've ever been asked in my entire life. What does God want you to do with your life? I always had the intention of doing things for God, but when they asked me that, it shook me to the core of who I was.
Almost immediately after, my heart began to stir about the calling towards long-term missions in Malawi. It was over the next 6 months and 2 trips to Africa that God confirmed in my heart the call to go. So my only question for you is, what does God want you to do with your life?